Hey guys, Krzysztof the Polish Geek and welcome to the review of Dune Part 2. I have to say, I was looking forward to this. I really enjoyed Part 1 back in 2020 and I really liked the original Dune book, so I was looking forward to this. Although, because admittedly the wait time between Part 1 and Part 2 was actually pretty long, so I'm not going to lie, my hype did die down a little bit actually because of that, but ultimately I thought Part 2 was worth the wait overall. They did make some changes to the book that I wasn't very fond of, if I'm being honest, but that's beside the point. Overall, I thought it was a very great science fiction epic movie. The book certainly has far more substance to it and the themes are certainly far deeper and far more meaningful, but this is what is bound to happen with adaptations, because there is no way a movie adaptation can ever be particularly as deep as the book. So now let's get on to the actual movie. The book was better, but now let's talk about the overall movie. And the first thing I have to compliment is the visuals in this movie are simply magnificent. This might be the best looking movie I've seen in years. The visual of the desert are wonderful and the cinematography is fantastic. And I simply just really love all the visuals and landscapes in this movie. This is one of the best looking movies I ever seen. When some people say it's an IMAX candy, they aren't wrong, really. And I also think the performances are simply wonderful. Timothée Chalamet is simply fantastic as Paul Atreides. I mean, he was already really great in Part 1, but here I think he was even better, and it's pretty obvious how much love he had for the role that he was given. And it's also a very different role from his Willy Wonka role that lots of people like comparing it to now. But now, the more I watch movies with Timothée Chalamet, the more I think he's a really good actor. And Zendaya is also phenomenal as Shani. Well, this is very recognizably the same Zendaya, obviously, that played MJ in the new Spider-Man movies. But at the same time, her personality is just so different that you almost forget it's the same actress, even though she looks the same. So yes, that movie also reaffirmed that Zendaya is a phenomenal, wonderful actress. And the story is simply epic. I already knew the story because I've read the book, so yeah, obviously I knew where this is going, but as I said, they made plenty of changes to the source material, plenty of which can't say I was particularly fond of. The one change I will say I really didn't like is that, because we both know that actually the book has actually been split into two halves, and Dune Part 1 was basically telling the first half of the book, and now Dune Part 2 told the second half. And actually, a couple of years have actually passed, in between those two books, but instead the movie decided to make it less than a year. And I understand they made this change for pragmatic reasons, but at the same time, can't say I particularly like the change, but oh well, it's no big deal in the grand scheme of things. There were actually plenty of other changes that I actually disliked far more, but there's just too many of them to list. But overall, it was still a very great epic story that I do think overall honored themes of Frank Herbert. And there were a couple of twists in the story too. I knew those twists were coming because obviously I read the books, so I knew those twists were coming, but I know plenty of people who haven't read the books are in for a surprise, and I'm really glad they kept those twists. I also really love the dialogue in this movie. The dialogues are so well written and they totally feel like the types of things that characters from Frank Herbert's book would say. And I also really love the evolving relationship between Paul Atreides and Shani and the actors that portray them. As I already said, they both did a phenomenal job, and I think seeing them together on screen is simply phenomenal, and they have a wonderful chemistry with each other. And also the overall world building is fantastic because Frank Herbert was really fantastic world builder, and I think it's pretty obvious that Denis Villeneuve has a lot of love for the world that Frank Herbert has created, and the ending is actually pretty heartbreaking. I will not spoil it, but I mean, if you already seen the movie or read the book, then you already know, but yes, I'm really glad they actually kept the original heartbreaking ending. And if you haven't read the book or seen the movie yet, then you're in for a wonderful but heartbreaking ending. But I will not spoil it for you. The wonderful thing about Dune, both for the novel Dune and this movie, is that it can be many things. It's very much a science fiction epic, it's a space opera, but it's also very much a war movie, but it's also very much a Shakespearean tragedy, and I think this is wonderful. And I also know that Denis Villeneuve actually wants to direct a third movie, Dune Messiah, which is apparently the sequel to the original Dune book. I haven't actually read Dune Messiah, so when this movie actually comes out, I'll go in completely blind because I haven't read Dune Messiah, so I know nothing about that. But I'm really looking forward to Dune Messiah, and so far, Dune Part 2 is by far the best movie of the year. I mean, we still have some other movies coming out. We still have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, as well as Nosferatu, so we'll see how those go. But for now, Dune Part 2 is by far the best movie of the year, and it's probably even better than any movie from last year, actually. But I really love Dune Part 2. I think it's an epic science fiction movie with beautiful visuals that are simply feast for the eyes, and a really epic story that truly pays off Dune Part 1, as well as does justice to the original Dune novel for the most part, and the performances are wonderful too. So I really suggest go and see Dune Part 2 because it's a wonderful science fiction epic. And thank you all for checking out this video. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you later in another video. Talk to you later, bye!